Yeah. So today's topic is backup and site recovery. Okay. So if I talk about backup and site recovery in the cloud, okay. So we have a service called a recovery service vault. So in the cloud, in the Azure, we have the recovery service vault. It is a service. Using that service, you can take the backup of the applications or the data or the database. Okay, you can take all the services backup using the recovery service vault. So when I talk about the backup, there are two types of backup in the cloud or in the IT environment. The standard backup, okay, if somebody talked about a backup, that backup means you have an application server, you have some data. What you do, that data is getting updated every day, every second. Okay, our the infrastructure team, we, okay, what we are there now, our main responsibility is to make sure that particular data or the application is backed up to the latest situation or the condition or the updates. So that is called as backup. We have the backup policies. We will just go there, create a policy. We will onboard the application server or the database or the HANA database, whatever the service that you want to take the backup, onboard it, and you will just mention the schedule. That automatically the backup runs and takes a copy of the virtual machine or the data or the database and keep it in a service called recovery service vault. That is in the same region. Okay, that is called as backup. So another one is the site recovery. Okay, site recovery means you are recovering the entire site. Say for example, you have your office in Bangalore data center example, or maybe one data center. If I consider Azure, Microsoft, say for example, I will consider the Western Europe. We have a region in the Western Europe country. So what you do, you the backup whatever you are storing, maybe that can be put it in the Western Europe region only. And I was telling you, when I talk about Western Europe, Microsoft make sure it keeps the copy of the data in three locations. Means we have uh, availability zones, correct na? In every region we have minimum three availability zones, and they are physically segregated minimum 250 to 300 kilometers away. So imagine if you are not selecting any kind of redundancy there, and you keep the database or the data in a single region, Western Europe. What if the entire Western Europe got submerged? You will lose the entire data. Or what if the entire Western Europe data center got fire and got burnt? You lose your data, correct? Then the entire site is in the risk. No matter yours, everyone's, whoever is keeping the data, every data is go for a toss, correct? Na? So to come out of such scenario, okay, we have another option called site recovery or disaster recovery. Means in case of any disaster happens in the location or in the region, okay, you have an option of synchronizing the same application servers, same data to another remote region. Okay, either you can put it in the India region, or you can put it in the US region, or in the Western Europe only, you can keep it in the Northern Europe. Okay, so it is not, it is, I mean, it is always a very less probability at a time two regions gets failed, correct na? That is the reason we are using this site recovery option, using the same recovery service vault, and we can configure the site recovery as well. I'll explain more when I talk about the site recovery. Okay, so now let us understand even more bit clear. Okay, so I was talking about the backup. Okay, see what do you mean by backup? You can see here, backup your files and folder, VMs, database for any unplanned events or incidents. Backup can be taken using the Azure Site Recovery Service vaults. Means the same thing I told you. Backup means you can take your data backup, your database backup, or your computer backup. For why? If any unplanned event happened, okay, suddenly the computer, you did the patching activity, okay, after the patching the server is not coming up, what you will do, you have to restore. Your responsibility is to make sure you should have a zero or minimal downtime or zero downtime to the application. You up that application server is your baby, you have to take care of your baby properly. Okay, so customer will not tell you anything. Customer will tell you, see, the application was working fine before the patching activity, and it is your responsibility to take the backup before you do the activity. So if something goes wrong, you can restore the service or the VM from the backup after the patching activity. Okay, the same thing. So if any unplanned event or incident happened, you have a data backed up to restore it to the to restore it for usage. That is called as backup. This recovery service fault I was talking about, right? See, a recovery service fault is nothing but it is one of the service. Okay, we will call it as a vault. Okay, so what we can do using this recovery service vault, you can take the data backup, or data in the sense here either it is a virtual machine or it is a database or any files and folder, anything. Okay, you take the backup and you can just store it in the recovery service vault. The same thing I mentioned here. A recovery service vault is a management entity or a service where we can store all the data which is backed up. It also stores the recovery point created over the time. Means it is not only taking the data backup, it is also storing the recovery points which you have created. It will tell you, say for example, you have recently took the backup or you have made some changes to the server. This recovery service what is able to make or identify what time the change has happened. When you are trying to restore it, it will tell you when you want to restore. You want to restore last night at 11 o'clock where you have taken the backup, or you want to restore when you installed an application. You have installed an application at maybe today morning 10 o'clock. Would you like to restore for that particular restore point? Like that, it will tell you. Okay, that recovery service vault has capability of storing the data as well as it also store the recovery point created. Now that information also it will store. Now you understood what is a backup and what is a recovery service vault. Next is site recovery. The same thing I told you. Site recovery means it is one of the service actually. We also call it as a disaster recovery, or we will also call it as BCDR. Means business continuity and the disaster recovery we will call it as. Okay, that is called as BCDR. Means your business should be continue even though there is a disaster situation happens. That is called as BCDR. Okay, the entire Western Europe region goes down, but you still call the DR from the Northern Europe region. That is called as site recovery. Means site recovery is a service where we can deploy and configure our business critical applications. Not all the applications will be configured disaster recovery, guys. Okay, we will not configure the disaster recovery for every damn virtual machines or the services we have. We will only configure the disaster recovery only for the critical application workloads or the production workloads. Okay, say for example, you have an application called amazon.com or flipkart.com. So Flipkart or Amazon may have multiple applications which they use inside the office. They don't want to take the backup of that. They want to take the backup. They don't want to have recovery DR for that, because for them the money minting application is important. The financially impactful or the critical workloads like Active Directory is very important. Okay, the and the application is very important. Okay, and the certificate service are very important, correct, right? So those kind of critical applications you can configure to synchronize in the other region. Okay, that is called as site recovery. What is the service we will use? We will use the recovery service vault. Okay, that is called as site recovery. Okay, so we can also do the see, I was just explaining, right? Site recovery is a service where we can deploy and configure our business critical applications for replication, failover and recovery process through the site recovery to help keep your application running during the planned and unplanned outages. Site recovery used to continue the BCDR, means business continuity and disaster recovery. The same thing I told you, right? If something goes wrong, completely disaster happens, you still continue with your business. That is called as BCDR. Okay. And below that, few more points are there. Azure Backup protects the data at on-premises and cloud. People may ask you, can I, will I be able to take the backup of the on-premises as well? You can tell yes. Using the Azure native backup. This is Azure native backup solutions, guys. This recovery service vault is Azure native. Azure native is in the sense Azure only provides the complete recovery solution for them. Okay, that is called as Azure native backup solution. So Azure native backup solution not only protects the servers and the services which are there in the cloud, it will also protects and safeguard the data and the applications which are in the on premises as well. And Azure Site Recovery protects the VMs and the physical servers and provide a management option to configure the application failover and failback. Means Site Recovery as the Azure Backup solution, supports you the on-premises. Even the Site Recovery also supports you to protect the virtual machines or the physical servers which are in the on-premises as well. You can do the same failover, same replication, and same failback the way you do the Azure virtual machine as well. Okay, that is about the basic understanding and the information about the Azure backup and site recovery. Any questions here? Okay, I'll take it as long. Now you understood. Fine, sir. Thank you. But what are the benefits that I get using the Azure Recovery Service Vault? Okay. So now you understand what is the difference. I mean, how it is helpful. What is its services? How it is helpful, and what kind of things you can take the backup. Now let us understand the benefits of also benefits of the Azure, the native backup solution. So the automatic storage management. Imagine, guys, if you have a backup solution on premises, probably you are using a Avamar or Veeam backup solution you are using. You have installed the agents in all the servers and the computers. Okay, then you can take the backup. So there you have the storage limitation in the backup solution. You have the storage limitation. Maybe you have 5 terabytes of 10 terabytes of storage capacity only you have. So as soon as you are consuming that out of 10 terabytes, if you are consuming 8 terabytes, either you have to plan for some cleanup or you have to plan for the increase in the storage capacity, correct na? In the on-premises world. But if you go with the Azure native backup solution, right, you don't have to worry about the storage management only, because Azure charges based on the amount of data you stored in it, and the capacity is unlimited. You don't need to bother about no having huge amount of storage space or having less amount of storage space. Okay, you don't have to bother about it because Azure has got a tremendous amount of storage available there, and they charge only for the amount of data that you keep inside the storage. So automatic storage management, you don't have to worry about increasing or decreasing the storage capacity. And unlimited scaling means as soon as, I mean, say for example today you have around 5 terabytes of data. Okay, tomorrow you are going to add another 2 terabytes of data. You don't have to worry about the scaling. Automatically the scaling will automatically increases, because the first point I told you, the automatic storage management, in that only the unlimited scaling will also there. Means there is no limitations at all, guys. You can use n number of terabytes, petabytes of storage, provided if you are paying the money. Okay, and multiple storage options. So multiple storage options are there. I mean, if you want to safeguard the data in within the same data center, okay, you can go with the locally redundant storage, LRS. See, this LRS is there now. What it will do, it will replicate the data 3 times in a storage scale unit. Means within the same data center, okay, maybe 2-3 places or 2-3 storage boxes, it will just replicate your data 3 times. If you opt locally redundant storage, means your data is safeguarded within the data center only, but physically it is safeguarded. Means it will keep the data in 3 different storage pools or 3 different storage boxes. Okay, so say for example one storage goes down due to some disaster or some power failure or some in network issues, you still have 2 copy of the same data in another 2 storage cells or storage boxes. That is called as locally redundant storage. Okay, all the copies of the data will be existed in the same region. I told you, na, all the three copies are in the same region only, and it is very cheaper. I mean, it is of very less cost. Okay, and it is faster also. I mean, the latency will be very less. It will be, you can do copy restoration in very speed manner. Okay, and it will only prevents the local hardware failure. I told you, na. So it is using three copies in a three different hardware. It increases the performance, it reduces the latency, and also it gives you the hardware redundancy, local hardware redundancy. Okay, that is called as locally redundant storage. If you don't have critical applications, if you don't want to put it the GRS and all, okay, then you can go with the LRS. Then the next one is GRS. Okay, GRS means it is geo redundant storage. Means geo means what? Graphically means physical location. Geo means it is geographical. Geo means it is geographical redundancy. So, for example, when you opt GRS or the geo redundant storage, it replicates the data to a secondary region, whatever you can select. You can select the secondary region. Say, for example, you have your primary region in the Western Europe, and you can select or opt the secondary region as a Northern Europe. So what they will do, they will put one or two copies of the data in the secondary region as well, or one copy of the data in the secondary region as well. So if the entire Western Europe data center gets collapsed or get fired, no problem, you still have your data can be restored from the Northern Europe or the secondary region. Okay, it is a bit expensive, and also it provides regional redundancy. Means to, I mean, region, when if the entire region goes on also, you can retrieve the data. That is regional redundancy, and it is little costlier also. Okay, next is unlimited data transfer. There is no limitations of the data transfer. You can do n number of data to be transferred. Okay, but the but there is no charge also. I mean, there is no charge to take the backup. There is no charge, guys. Okay, only the charge is associated. Okay, the whenever you are inbounding means you store something and now you are restoring something. Okay, to storage, no charge is applicable. Okay, charge is applicable only for the restorations. Okay, and I mentioned somewhere here, yes, see the cost associated with the inbound data or the import large amount of data, egrease. I told you, right? Egrease and ingrease. Egrease means you import something, ingrease means you write some, egrease means importing. I mean, you are from the remote region, you are importing something to this region, to means that is a restoration, right? That is called as restoration, and we also call it egress. The cost associated only when you try to download the data from the backup or while restoring the server or the services from the backup. So here the primary region is Western Europe. Okay, you are writing, you are pushing the copy to the Northern Europe. That is called as writing. Correct? You are taking the backup here and you are pushing one copy to the Northern Europe. That is called as writing. So when disaster happens, you are reading from there. You are importing from the Western Europe, Northern Europe to the Western Europe region. That is called as egress, because the things are coming out from the Northern Europe region. It is coming inside the Western Europe region. That is why that is called as egress. Whenever the egress is there, there only the charge will be applicable, and storage cost is also there, but it is very negligible. Okay, that is about the unlimited data transfer and the impact on it. And the data encryption, okay, the data is very much secured when you are writing anything in the Azure, the backbone network. I told you Microsoft has connected with their own network. Microsoft is not dependent on any other service provider for the network, right? So they will make sure the data is end-to-end encrypted. Okay, so to, even though Microsoft don't have visibility what data that you are sending, guys. Okay, even you also cannot see the data until unless you don't, I mean, you don't have the passphrase or the key to retrieve it. So you can create the channel when you are writing something, right? When you are taking the backup or something, this passphrase key is there. Na? That key can be generated by you, and you can put it, and you can increase the level of security the way you want it. Okay, even the Microsoft don't able to, they cannot able to reveal or see what exactly the data getting transferred in that channel. That is about the data encryption. The application consistent backup means, so you can even take the backup not only the operating system, you can even take the application consistent backup also. People may ask you questions, what kind of backup you have. Okay, you can tell Microsoft supports various backup types. Okay, you can take system state backup, you can take an application consistent backup, you can take differential backup, and incremental backup, blah blah blah. There are various things are there. Application consistent backup is nothing but the backup you are taking that will give you not only the operating system, it will also give you the application consistent also. Means you can see the application, you can take the application backup, and you can restore the application to the state where it was working perfectly fine. Okay, the same condition you can take the backup. And you can put long term retention. Means when you take the backup, normally what we will do in the real time environment, we will keep it for, daily backup we will keep it for maybe 2 weeks, 15 days, and weekly backup we will keep it for 6 weeks, and monthly backup we will keep it for 6 months, and yearly backup we will keep it for 5 years. Okay, but here you can even extend the retention period. You can keep the daily backup for 30 days, weekly backup for 10 weeks, and monthly backup for 12 months, and yearly backup for 10 years or 20 years. The number you can whatever you want, you can extend it for the longer time. Okay, that is these are all the benefits of the backup, the Azure native backup solution. Okay, now let us understand some components of the Azure. How to take the backup, how, okay, where are some various methods are there. Okay, one is the Mars agent is there. Okay, Microsoft Azure recovery service agent, we call it as Mars agent. Okay, so using this Mars agent also you can take the backup of the applications. Okay, so if you want to take the backup of the computer or an application or a data of on premises, what you can do, you can just download the Mars agent, go to the recovery service vault. There you have an option called download the agent. Just download that agent and install in the computer, and you can from the on premises, you, I mean by being in the cloud, you can take the computer backup by using the Mars agent. See, no separate backup server needed. If you have the Mars agent, you don't need to worry about the the a different backup solution for the on premises. You can even take the on premises backup as well. Okay, so maximum 3 times can backup per day. Means it won't support n number of times backup. It will support up to maximum 3 times. I mean once in a day. Means in a day, either you can take before the maybe just after the business starts, or middle of the business, or end of the business. You can take 3 backups per day using Mars agent. Okay, and no other services are using for the backup. Here also the same. The recovery service vault is used for the taking the backup. Okay, the next one is system center DPM is okay. So this is one of the option, the components of the Azure native backup solution. Okay, where you can take the VMware VM backup, you can take. Okay, and VSS application aware snapshot means the volume shadow services one service is there in the operating system. Okay, they are very important. Okay, to take the backup. Without the volume service shadow services, you cannot take the backup, guys. Okay, they know each and every registry, each and every libraries, they'll understand, and they will support you to take the copy of the data. That is called as VSS. Okay, and that is also supports in the system center DPM. Okay, see in this four now you have to consider only the last two. The first two is you should aware of it. Okay, Mars agent will be taken to take the backup of the on premises or the physical servers. The system center DPM will supports the virtual VMware environment, and the Azure backup server will supports the all the virtual machine database, everything. Okay, you should be aware of it. And in the if you see the system center DPM, it cannot take the backup of Oracle workloads. See, this won't support the Oracle workloads backup. Okay, and you can even use the locally attached storage can be used along with the RSP. Means in the system center backup, you can even leverage the on-premises storage as well. Say for example, in our on-premises you have some storage box, 10 terabyte or 5 terabytes of storage boxes. you can use this online services, okay, and instead of putting the data in the Azure recovery service vault, you can just save the data in the local on premises only using the system center DPM. Okay, but whereas in Mars agent you will only store the recovery service vault, correct? You can store the data in the recovery service vault, but in the system center DPM you can even use the locally attached storage, also the recovery service vault. That is the difference. Now let us go to the Azure Backup Server. So this is the Azure Backup Service, also one of the component, okay, which will help you, okay, to take, I mean, have the below benefits, okay. The backup is flexible, can take as and when you want. But in the Microsoft Mars agent, right, I was only telling you, you can only take the backup for 3 times. But in the Azure Backup Server, it is not like that. Here, you can take the backup n number of times. You can use the recovery service vault, okay. You can even take the backup of the virtual machine. See the difference. Mars agent is only for the physical servers, system centered DPM is only for the VMware, but the Azure Backup Server is supporting both on premises as well as virtual machine, as well as it supports both RSP, okay, and also the locally attached thing, okay. So whatever the first Mars and system center DPM is, no, both it will supports, okay. Then the flexible and it is also supports the local storage also. Then the last one is Azure IaaS VM backup. Okay, here see the first three things that you need to install an agent. But for the Azure IaaS VM backup, you don't need to install an agent. You just have to onboard. I'll show you maybe tomorrow. Okay. No agent is required in order to take the backup for the virtual machines. And this backup can be taken once a day. Normally once a day is enough. Why are you taking every time? Okay, because it will take the entire the system copy and it will keep it. And it cannot backup on premises. It will only supports the cloud, okay. And you cannot use the locally attached storage as well. You can only use the recovery service vault, okay. So these are all the components, okay. Now you know there are 4 components: Mars agent, system center DPM, Azure Backup Server, and Azure IaaS VM backup. So Mars is for the on-premises, it will support RSP, and the System Center is for the VMware, it will support both RSP as well as locally attached storage. And you have the backup server, you can take backup n number of times. It supports RSP, it will also supports the VMware backup, and it will support both RSP as well as the locally attached storage. But in case of IaaS, you will only, it is agentless backup. You can take the backup once in a day, and you cannot backup on premises, and it won't support the locally attached services, okay. So this is about the Azure components. Any questions? Okay, if no questions, I'll quickly take you to the steps. What are the steps to take the backup of the virtual machines? First and foremost thing, right, you need to create a recovery resource group in the Azure. See, resource group is the highest identity, I mean the entity, okay. If you talk about the hierarchy in the cloud, the first one is tenant. Under the tenant we have subscription. Under the subscription we have resource groups. Under the resource groups you have resources, right? This is the hierarchy. So any services that you create in the cloud, that should have a place. Some placeholder should be there for the service. That placeholder is nothing but the recovery, the resource group, okay. Resource group is nothing but you are creating the resources and keeping that in a container or maybe a group, that is called as resource group. It is a service. And once you create the resource group, what you can do, you can create the recovery service vault inside the same RG or the resource group. Then once you create the recovery service vault, then you go to the backup policy. I mean, there you have an option called create the policies. You can go to the create backup policy and define the backup conditions, trigger condition, everything, and enable backup and add desired VMs to the vault. Once your backup policy is created, there you see all the VMs, whatever you have deployed in the Azure, everything will be listed there. Then select the VM and onboard it, and go to the backup jobs and see whether the backup got triggered, when it got triggered, whether it is failed, whether it is success, how much percentage it is processed. Everything can be seen in the backup jobs options. I'll show you tomorrow. Now, steps for now you understood the backups. Okay. Now, steps if you want to know about the site recovery, see, create an RG. Where you have to create an RG in the disaster region. Say, for example, your region is Western Europe. Okay. See here, your region is Western Europe. Okay. But your disaster region is Northern Europe. So what you have to do to safeguard the applications which are here, what you have to do, you have to create an RG in the recovery region, the DR region. Okay, then you need to synchronize all the workloads from here to get stored in the region here. Okay, that is what I'm talking about here. Okay, create a recovery service vault in the DR region, enable the Azure site recovery in the target location DR region. You have to see RG to be created in the DR region and recovery service vault to be created in the DR region, and enable the site recovery in the target region, okay, in the DR region only, and enable the replication and replicate to the desired VMs to the DR region, test the failover, and then clean up the failover and actual failover and fail back the RTO and RPO. I'll explain you in deeper. So whatever applications that you created in the Western Europe, the primary region, right? So you need to make sure the applications are synchronized to the DR region. So what you have to do in your example here, in our case, the problem, one second. See, in our region, say for example, you are using a server here, okay, and this server is a application 1 app 01. This is in the Western Europe. Okay, you have Northern Europe as well, correct na? So you have a Northern Europe application is there. What you have to do, you have to create a disaster recovery option. Okay, so here what you have to do, you have to synchronize the application. The copy of the application will be go and sit in the every copy. You write something, you created a user account, that user account should go and sit in the Northern Europe region as well. Okay, that is the reason what you have to do, you have to create the recovery service fault in the DR region, not in the primary region. Okay, here. So what once you do the once you enable the replication, what you can do, you can do the test failover. There is an option called test failover, just to make sure when you click on the test failover, will this VM is able to get generated here or not. That is called as test failover. Failover means you are moving the application functionality or the application server from primary region to the DR region, and the application was here, the primary was here na? When you do the failover, what happens, people are, whenever the user accessing the application, say for example, whenever the user is accessing the application, when it was primary here, when he do the failover, he will be automatically redirected to this location. That is called as failover. Means pointing the application from the primary region to the secondary region, called as failover. Means you are making sure the application server which is there in the recovery region will act as a primary now. So this will become, this is unavailable because disaster happened. Disaster happened. Then what is the application we have? We have in the Northern Europe, the DR region. Then the user should be pointed down to the DR region server. That is called as failover. But here what are we going to do? We are doing the test failover. Means we are just making sure whenever we call out the DR, test DR, the copy of the app01 should be created here or not. It will be creating, but it won't get shut down or it won't get removed. Nothing will happen for this one when you do the test failover. But when you do the, and then what you have to do, once you click on the test failover, this will get created here, and you make sure it is working fine. Then you can do the cleanup failover. Whatever data or the replica you have created now for testing, that has to be deleted, right? So then you can do the cleanup failover. When you clean up failover, the virtual machine which got created in the Northern Europe will be deleted. All the things will be cleaned up. Then actual failover. Then the actual failover, what you do during the DR scenario, okay, you can just click on the actual failover. Then the app01 will be already moved to the Northern Europe, and the users will be pointing to the Northern Europe now. Okay, that is called as actual failover. So this will become shut down, this will become on, the application and all the data that you are trying to access and retrieve, everything will be started coming from this DR server in the actual failover. So then you can once after, say for example, there is some failover activity happened, I mean some disaster activity happened, maybe some short circuit happened and the entire data center got, some portion of the data center got corrupted, or some network related components got fired. Okay, so what you do, you will do the failover here and you take maybe 10 days or 15 days to rectify it. Once everything is rectified, what you do, you have to fail back, means you don't want to use every time the northern Europe, only for the disaster things you have to use. When this primary is up and running, what you can do, you can call the failback, means you will make this as secondary and you will call the application back to the primary, then the users will start communicating to the primary here. Okay, that is called as failback. So this is RTO and RPO. RTO means recovery time of object. RPO means recovery point of object. Means how long you need in order to restore the data backup. This is called as recovery. Means how long you need to recover the data backup. Okay. How long the data loss will happen. That is called as RTO, recovery time of object. RPO means recovery point of object. How much data I am losing, how long you will take, or how much data I am losing. That is called as RPO, recovery point of object. Say for example, you have taken the you have called taken the backup for 1010. Okay, so what is the RPO, they may ask you. So probably you may need 10 minutes to call the DR from this point to this point. So the RTO is here 10 minutes. Okay, and the data or recovery point. Okay, recovery point of means how much amount of data that you lose, 30 minutes data or last 2 hours data, that is called as recovery point of object. Okay, just go through and see, this is a little confusing, RPO and RTO, but you should know RTO means it is recovery time of objective and RPO means recovery point of objective. Okay, RTO means it is how much time you need to take the restore or restore back, or RPO means how much amount of data I am losing when using this. See, you cannot make 100% available, correct? Huh? So you cannot make 100% available. You may lose about 1 hour data or 2 hour data, 30 minutes data, correct? Huh? Because you are calling the data from the secondary region to the primary region back, and then you can do the commit. Once you do the commit, right, you cannot take the different RPOs and RTOs. Okay, all the RTOs and RPOs will go off. Means I was explaining, you know, recovery service vault will also store the recovery points. Means what time the backup has taken, what time the application has no backed up or installed. Those information it will make a note. So when before you do the commit, it will allow you to select that point. Okay, would you like to restore it for 10 o'clock 10 minutes, or would you like to restore it for 10 o'clock 20 minutes? That option is there before you do the commit. Once you do the commit, those points will not be calculated. It will just ignore and it will forget all the points, and it doesn't exhibit any points, recovery points. That is called as commit. Okay, so with that, shall I take another? Oh, no, no time. So can we'll do one thing. I'll stop it for now. Okay, because two more slides are there. This is important. Okay, tomorrow I'll explain you better, and then I'll take you to the recovery service vault creation. Okay, because this will need another 10 minutes, but I have another class now. I'm stopping the recording once again, guys. Any questions?